Mindset Transformations radio show with your host, Coach Myrna. Do you feel the need to do more with your life? Are limiting beliefs holding you back from true success? Enjoy a unique blend of interviews, discussions, and transformation coaching in every show. Get the tools for success. The Mindset Transformation radio show with your host, Coach Myrna.
Welcome to the Mindset Transformation radio show. I'm your host, Coach Myrna, and today we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Ken Keis. Dr. Ken is an author, speaker, podcast host, life and business coach, and he invited me to his podcast, which is called The Secrets of, what is it called again, Ken?
It's Secrets of Success with Dr. Ken Keis.
All right, Secrets of Success with Dr. Ken Keis. All right, well, listen, welcome, Dr. Ken. I am going to enjoy speaking with you today. We are going to be talking about the 6 holistic ways to living a life on purpose. So I love purpose. It's something that I follow. It's my motto. I think it's a secret to happiness. So we are going to be spending some time delving into that topic today. All right. So, but before we dive in, I want to give a shout out to my sponsor of this episode. Dr. Ken, before I do that again, I just wanted to thank you for being on the show. So welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Okay, you're welcome. All right. So let me go ahead and give a shout out to our sponsor of this episode, which is iPayTotal. Does your business fall into a high-risk category like CBD, gaming, gambling, travel, pharmacy, or timeshare? And you have been rejected by other merchant account providers? No problem. iPayTotal wants your business. iPayTotal deliver payment solutions and products to help you grow your business. Contact them now for your payment processing at info@ipaytotal.com or visit them on the web at http://www.ipaytotal.com. All right, so let me tell you a little bit more about my guest today, Dr. Ken Keis. Dr. Ken is a foremost global authority on behavioral assessment strategies and an expert in leadership, purpose, and wellness. He has authored over 4 million words of content, including 500 articles, 4 books, and a dozen assessments. Ken's purpose is to help others to live, lead, and work on purpose. Dr. Ken is president and CEO of Consultant Resource Group International, INC, which we will call CRG going forward, which has thousands of companies, associations, industry groups, and leaders in over 30 countries. In the past 29 years, Ken has personally conducted more than 3,000 presentations and 10,000 hours of coaching and consulting. He is a highly sought-after author, speaker, trainer, and TV and media guest. His latest books include Why Aren't You More Like Me?, Deliberate Leadership, and The Quest for a Purpose. His experience covers all areas of development: career, business, sales, personal, professional, purpose, wellness, leadership, communications, team building, HR, and organizational. More than 1 million people in 30 countries and 12 languages have engaged CRG's process to enrich their lives. Ken's podcast called The Secrets of Success with Dr. Ken Keis has over 125 episodes. Download it on iTunes or other podcast players. Well, Ken, I'm a little rough. I was on vacation for 2 weeks, so I got to get back into it. So I'm going to smooth out as we go along. All right, so welcome again. How are you doing today?
Well, it's good to be here with Myrna.
Yes. All right. So I like to start off my my show by asking my guests to tell a little bit of their backstory and how they became a coach. You're a coach, you're a CEO, you've got a podcast. So, but one of the ones I want to focus on is how come you decided to focus on purpose? Is there a personal story there somewhere?
Well, all of us are seeking for some kind of purpose, and I was no different than anybody else. I actually grew up on a dairy farm. I'm the first-born male, third-generation Eastern European descent. So there was a significant amount of pressure for me to stay and continue with the family business, which I did. Then I actually started my own dairy farm, though I had left the family farm, which, of course, I was called a traitor for doing so. Because you know how parents go. They say, well, I did everything here for you, right?
For you, right.
So not necessarily asking what did I want or what did I want to do. And you know, that's one of the reasons we're having this show today is so many people listening have been trapped down a pathway that was really sort of conditioned from their background. So anyways, I got into this, and one morning I woke up. It was 5 a.m., 5:30 in the morning. The sun was coming up. I had my own dairy farm at this time. I was also working as a sales rep. And I asked myself this question: would it be okay 20 years from now to be doing this same thing? And my answer was no. And so I immediately took action on that. And so I knew when I was 16 that I wanted to be a communicator. I was part of an agricultural rural program. Most people in the U.S. and Canada be familiar with it, called 4-H. And I was asked to speak in front of a group of 400 people when I was 16, and I loved it. I was nervous, but I loved it. So I knew that I was going to do it. I was MC at 18, 19, and 20 for many groups in our community. But it took me to my late 20s, early 30s to really get figured out what am I supposed to do. It was, I think, my late 20s when I decided to quit the farming. But I actually went through my own journey with a coach out of Seattle, Washington, Mike McManus, and I says, Mike, I know I'm supposed to really communicate and encourage others, but I'm not exactly sure about what the topic is and who I'm serving. And so I actually went and commuted or drove 2 hours to his place once a month for 6 months, plus some other work, journaling work that I did with him, to come up with and say, okay, my purpose in life, as you've already did in the introduction, is to help others to live, lead, and work on purpose. And that was part of my journey of just getting clear and doing the work and investing the time, you know, to find that clarity. And so it's really now been nearly 30 years since I started that transition.
Wow, I like that. So your coach allowed you to gain clarity by asking yourself, what are you here for? Or how did you, I understand the part about being a communicator, because you recognized earlier on that you have that skill set. But I like the fact that you work with the coach. And so how did he get you to decide that, you know, purpose was what you wanted to communicate about? How did he get you to answer that question?
Interesting enough, the latest book, The Quest for Purpose, which we're referencing for this show, and I'll have a special gift for people at the end of the show around that book. Mike passed away from cancer many years ago now, and I just took his process and then added and enhanced it. And basically it was a self-discovery, narrative, journaling, interactive sort of process, meaning life leaves clues, Myrna. Are we paying attention to it? Are we working through it? You know, I remember one of my colleagues who was in the career development industry for 50 years, and I said, how come so many people don't know what they should be doing or don't know what their purpose is? And he says, well, here's the reason. They haven't done the work. They haven't been reflective. So it was, I wasn't say it was easy because I really struggled with the clarity process. And so I get it when we work with clients, well, I don't know. Well, my wife works at a university. She has all these first and second year students, freshmen, and many of them will change their majors several times. Why? Because they're going through this clarity process. And it's quite okay. Don't feel guilty about it. It's part of the journey, but make sure that you're doing it. So I did the work. I journaled. And in our system, which I did then, is I journaled, and then we went through and highlighted words and phrases that were energizing for me. That, when people are in the zone or in the flow, it's not work. And, in our, we talk about mindfulness, we're paying attention. And what Mike was doing, he says, Ken, I want you to look at all the things that energize you. I don't want you to look at anything that's neutral or negative. And that's really what percolated and had the cream rise to the top, was this whole idea of purpose. Or one of the ways that we talk about it in the work that we do is we help people to realize their potential. And we take a holistic perspective, and I know that later on the show we'll get to that. It's not any single item. We have to look at our whole life to be able to realize that potential, to realize our purpose, and to clarify our purpose.
That's great. So I'm kind of patting myself in the back that I picked up on that, because a lot of people, they say that Jesus is one of the few people that came into this world and knew his purpose right away. Most of us don't. And, you can figure it out by, what you have in your hand. Like, what did you come here skillful at? You can figure out about your interests, and you can use certain clues. But I like the fact that you're a coach, and usually only a coach can get you to do this kind of work. You can read a lot of books, and it'll take you a little longer, but you need some additional help in order to get to, your purpose and what you're here for. So, I was going down a little different path when I asked you that question, because, again, I do a lot of meditation, and I do a lot of spiritual work. And a lot of times the question that you ask yourself is, why are you here? What are you supposed to do while you're here? So, I like the fact that, you go by things that energize you, things that, make a connection to you, because, your soul is the part of you that is connected to this body, and is the one that has a purpose and a reason for being here now. So, two different ways you can do it, but I love your answer on that. Any follow up on that?
Well, one of the things is that everybody listening here has a purpose. And they said, well, I don't. I said, well, if you don't have a purpose, then your purpose is to find your purpose. So first of all, the baseline is that all of us have some kind of passion. Now, there's real debate right now, Myrna. There was actually a paper that's released out of university, actually a colleague of mine, and we're agreeing to disagree. He says, well, don't go and do things that you're passionate about, because you won't make a living. And the point being, let's say I love music, but I don't want music to be my profession while I earn money. Well, I can still enjoy that passion. I love motorcycles. Well, I'm not a motorcycle racer. I'm passionate about it. I went for a ride the other day that was 9 hours straight, and that was my space, and I'm passionate about it. So we have many different passions. Very few of us are linear. But the key is that how does this evolve? Now, the other thing around purpose, life has changed for my profession in the last 30 years. When I started this profession, I hate to date myself. I know I sound very young, right? Is that I started before there was email. So even the internet was just evolving at that time. Is how I do my business. Like, we're launching our first e-courses. We're going to have an e-course on this whole purpose stuff in the near future. Well, that didn't even exist 30 years ago. So the method by which I am living my purpose is evolving and changing, and those things come to play. And there are some skills, Myrna, that I need to learn that I might not like to learn. Let's say all the software around social media, all the trigger points, things like Hootsuite or Buffer or whatever it is. I need to learn those to be able to get my message out. I might not like that, where my passion is communicating and encouraging others and coaching others to live their purpose, but there are some other skills that I will have to develop to be able to fulfill that. So it's not like everything is nirvana, but if I learn the skills and I get good at them, then guess what? Mm-hmm. Confidence actually breeds self-worth, which then you enjoy doing it as a result of it.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's good. I like the fact that you said everyone has a purpose. Yeah, and my response to that is it always doesn't have to be big. Your purpose could be just to birth your child, or your purpose can be a supporting role, but it doesn't always have to be world changing. Do you agree with that?
Well, I would say that everything is world changing. It's just our perspective. So if I'm a great parent, mother, father, parent, is in the impact that it's going to have on that child and growing them up and nurturing them and having this human being to be developed and grounded and centered, hey, that's impact. You have no idea what your child's going to do, where they're going to go. And if you equip them to win as they go into the future, that is global impact.
Yes. Okay. Got you. Thank you for that. Yeah. So yes, it doesn't have to be. It could be something small, right? But you're right. We always have a purpose. Now, in reading your book, I was immediately, again, I love the word you said, something that energized you. I immediately like a statement that you made in the first chapter of the book, actually, and you make the statement that our attitude, which can also be called our mindset, is linked to our awareness, which can have profound effects on our overall well-being. And since this is a mindset transformation podcast, I wanted you to start off right away by expanding on that topic. That statement. Why is our mindset linked to our purpose somehow?
Well, when we think about it, a lot of times people actually know where they're supposed to go, what they're supposed to do, but they don't have the mindset of a winner or a mindset of success. And it's interesting because a lot of the other books before I wrote mine were missing this element. There's all kind of research around, Martin Seligman in his book Learned Optimism documented this in a 25-year study, which he gave permission for me to source his research in the book. Is that, do you have an optimistic or pessimistic mindset? So if I know my purpose, but I'm pessimistic, then I'm not going to realize my potential. I'm not going to have all the wins that I need to have, because I'm a toxic person. If I'm a negative person, that is going to hinder the fulfillment, the engagement, the realization of your life purpose. And so mindset is critically important. In fact, even believing that you have a purpose, if you don't believe that you have a purpose and there's nothing important for you to do, guess what? You're going to fulfill that mindset. So what I realized in the book were there was two components. One was character traits, which was all these behavioral things, these choices like integrity, like forgiveness, like love, all those, but also the mindset around being optimistic or pessimistic. Now, in the book, we frame it out. It's quite a thorough sort of review, but how we look at life around that negative or positive affects my immunity system, affects my resilience. And so everybody's talking about tenacity and a growth mindset. Well, all of that comes out of, my attitude and what I'm focused on. And if I don't believe in that, then I'm going to realize exactly what I believe, which might be nothing.
Yeah, it's really interesting, but I started on a path recently about, I listened to a podcast from this guy that Bruce Lipton, and he wrote the book, The Biology of Belief, and I've been reading several of his work since then, and I've interviewed several guests on the show, and as a coach, they tell you, when you start off, is that what you believe? And I even say in the beginning of my show that limiting beliefs are holding you back. But I did not understand how belief affects your cellular level, and belief affects everything that you do. And because it's a core, it's going to come up in almost all my conversations now. So I I like what you say about, and it's very true, if you don't have a mindset that for success, you're never going to achieve it, because everything is going to knock you down. And apparently, this is all foundational. What you believe in, your mindset, and a lot of things go back to your childhood. So that what you said a minute ago as well about a parent nurturing nurturing her child to be a world changer, it's actually a very, very important role, because unless the child goes to a coach or have some positive influences later in their lives, everything that they become and they believe links back to that early part of life. So good stuff. All right.
Absolutely. Well, Bruce, I quote Bruce. It's called epigenetics.
Right.
Where you have this ability to actually alter how your DNA responds.
Right.
If somebody says, you know what, my whole family has cancer, I'm going to get cancer, guess what? You're actually prepping your DNA to get cancer. Most people don't realize that, right. But that is how powerful our thought processes are in what it does to our body.
Yes. Very, very true. So yeah, your belief, and you're right. If you don't believe you have a purpose, if you don't even think about it, and that's basically what this show, the purpose of this show is to let our listeners understand that your mindset, that you can transform your mindset, and your mindset is your key to success. So if you're here and you've never even thought that you have a purpose, that you're just here to to live and work and, have a family, and are not conscious of anything that you can do to improve the quality of your life, then that's how you're going to live, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. All right. So we're off to a rocking start. I love it. Let us take our first break, and then we're going to come back, and we are going to delve deeper into Dr. Ken's book, The Quest for Purpose. We're going to open it up and talk about his holistic approach. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. If you would like to improve the quality of your life and don't have the budget to hire a coach, then I have an offer for you. Why not play the game of life and learn the skills to maneuver life situations? How many of you have played the game of Monopoly and learned the value of having property to collect rent? Well, Points of View is a leading company in the field of training for personal and business development. Points of View use games to explore significant life themes in a fun, unique, and powerful way. Games are designed for use by professionals, organizations, or individuals. The games are designed to help you look deep inside yourselves and the environment around you. It is a stimulating exploration that sharpens your senses and opens up new possibilities. So who can use Points of View games? Anyone wishing to reconnect and enhance communications with themselves and others. Anyone in search of fresh perspectives on dilemmas, relationships, and decision-making. Those seeking interchange and the opportunity to build new bridges. Points of View is a collection of various games. The coaching game features 65 associate cards that explore significant everyday themes. Punction fosters associate connections between photos, themes, and questions. These flexible combinations make it a fascinating tool, highly effective in dynamic therapy, coaching, and counseling. Faces is a powerful way to get to know ourselves through the observation of others. For more information or to purchase one or more of these games, head over to https:// POY4ALL.com/transform, which is TRANSFORM. These games would make perfect Christmas gifts for someone that you love so that they can have coaching in a fun and exciting way. So once again, that website is https://POY4ALL.com/transform.
Having trouble getting a merchant account? Need an international payment gateway? Rejected by another merchant account provider? No problem. iPayTotal wants your business. Our high-risk merchant accounts allow you to accept all major credit and debit cards. Our Motto Payment Gateway allows accepting transactions on the phone. iPayTotal delivers payment solutions and products to help grow your business. Contact us now for your payment processing at info@ipaytotal.com or visit ipaytotal.com. www.ipaytotal.com, your online payments provider.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Coach Myrna Young, and today we are speaking to Dr. Ken Keis. Dr. Ken is the author of the book, A Quest for Purpose. And in the beginning of our show, the first segment, we touched on purpose and how important it is in your life, and we concluded by talking about the mindset for purpose and for success. So as we come into the second segment, I want to talk to Dr. Ken. Again, first of all, I want to thank you publicly for sending me a copy of your book, a complimentary copy of your book. It's an awesome book. I appreciate it. Thank you. But it also allows me to give some depth to our conversation because I've read your book. So, in the book, you have a really nice diagram on 6 areas that we all need to focus on if we're going to have a holistic approach to living on purpose. So can you spend some time and, share these elements and what they mean with our listeners?
Absolutely. We call it the Personality Development Factors Model, so people don't need to remember that. But when we think about developing a purpose, a lot of times what happens, people don't realize their purpose because the question's too big, Myrna. It's overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And what we're trying to do here is get people to fine-tune all the components of their life to go to the next level. So let's go through. There's actually 7 areas in there because there's a hidden one in the center in the diagram. So the first one we talk about is, and we're an assessment company, so we have assessments in these different areas that people are interested to complete and learn about their different, I'll call benchmark levels in those areas. So the first one is we talk about personal style or personality. Many people have heard about personality assessments or tests. We have one called the Personal Style Indicator. And one of the things we believe is that we are all born with a certain personal style, not right, not wrong. And we develop and we change and we mature in life. But Myrna is Myrna from 10 years ago. In other words, Myrna can wake up in the morning and still count on Myrna being Myrna. Mm-hmm. If this wasn't true, then Myrna would be like Ken, and Ken would be like Myrna tomorrow. We'd be all chaos. And so there's an essence, there's a theme. Those of you that are a part of our life that we take throughout our life, not right, not wrong. So we call these your personal preferences. Knowing those are critical because the career path, the type of job, the relationships, the strengths and the challenges that you're going to have with the interactions with others is highly based on your personal preferences or your personal style. So that consciousness or awareness, when I work with clients now for the last 30 years, I will not coach, train, or work with a company unless they do that assessment. It is just foundational because every single person on the planet has personal style, and knowing it in that self-awareness, as Wayne Dwyer, late Wayne Dwyer said, in self-awareness all things are possible. So if I'm conscious, if these things are highly influencing my directions, my preferences, my filters in life, then I need to know what they are, and then I can be intentional. So that's number one.
All right, well, let me ask you a question right there before. So when you tell a company to do these assessments, is there a particular personality style that you are saying that you're not going to want, or you work with everybody?
Work with everybody. Okay. Part of what happens is that every style has its own related strengths and weaknesses. Now, what happens is in some cases, when we think about fulfillment in life, you are doing the right things in the wrong job, meaning there's not a job fit. If the nature of who I am from a personal style does not match the nature of the position that I fulfill every day, then I cannot sustain my engagement. It's not a fair expectation of you. So a lot of you listening, you're feeling guilty that I just don't have the energy to put in this job. And so maybe, you're not a detail-oriented individual, and now you're in the audit department in accounting. Well, it's not a fit. And so it's not, and I'm not saying that we blame ourselves in some cases when really it's not a job fit. So we give people language and a format, a process, and a system to understand job fit as well as team dynamics. And a lot of times, Myrna, we tend to hire people who are like us because we have affinity with them. But really, I need to hire somebody who's opposite of me to balance out the business. So you're coaching business owners and individuals. In a lot of cases, what do I need for the position? So there's no right, there's no wrong. Everybody will lead differently. Certain styles have certain propensities to certain things they can do better, more naturally. Well, then we'll have that conversation about that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for clarifying. All right.
You're welcome. And then we even have kids that are 13 and 14 that will complete the assessments and tools, and they get it right away, and they said, "Oh, Mom, now I understand why I connect with this group and not this group." When we think about the second area, we talk about wellness and stress. The stats of North American health is that 75 to 80% of people are unwell at some level or another. 50% are diabetic or pre-diabetic on the way to 70%. So there's no way, if I know my purpose, but I'm sick, I'm ill, I don't have energy, I have chronic fatigue syndrome, I have immunity disorder or whatever is going on, 90 to 95% of all illness is lifestyle related. Either my thoughts or what I'm eating or what I'm doing. So we have a stress indicator health planner. I have a diploma in nutrition and genetics. And so when we think about it, we are not living healthy lifestyles. Everybody's on their screen. They're getting less than 6 hours of sleep. We're eating, unhealthy processed foods. On and on it goes. So if I'm going to live on purpose, then I need to take my body and treat it well. If I have a racehorse, I don't take that racehorse, take it out all night, go have a party where it's puking itself out till 2:30 in the morning, and then try to have it win the Kentucky Derby the next morning. I feed it the best oats, hay that I have. I have to make sure it's sleep. I make sure that it's rested. Why wouldn't I do the same thing for me?
Yeah, that resonated with me. I got a little, electric shock from that one because it's, what I'm focusing right now, and that was brought to my awareness. Now, I've always, treated my body well. But, again, awareness and consciousness is an important thing. It has different levels and evolve. And I read Tom Brady's book. And, of course, his body is like a racehorse, and he's got to treat it well and the things that he do in order to perform at a high level at 42 or whatever. But it just made me more conscious of what you just said, how you treat your body, what you give it, and how you deal with it so that it can, because it's the only one you got. And if you want to, work well, you know what I mean? So I'm working on that right now, or it's top of my awareness of how you treat your body and what you put into it. Yep.
In the last 100 years, Myrna, our whole society shifted where we have a society that's mostly sitting, where our bodies are meant to move. And so, just a simple thing of 10,000 steps a day as a target. And everybody has a phone or a pedometer or whatever it is so that did I do those steps, a Fitbit, so that I'm aware of it. And then what you're putting in it. The simple one is just whole natural foods. Stay away from processed foods, stay away from fried foods. And for the most part, you're going to be much better. And, of course, your mom said vegetables and fruit is good for you. Well, pretty easy peasy. But, of course, the addictive nature of candy and processed foods Do you know that sugar is more addictive than cocaine in our system? So that's why it's such a hard thing to quit.
To quit.
Because our system has these triggers, and it sets it off. And so we are, in many cases, our emotional distress is then causing us to do food as a way to sort of self-soothe, if you want to call it that way. Anyways, I could do an entire show on just that.
I know, right?
Number two.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Number two. Number three is around self-worth. So we have called the self-worth inventory. It's another assessment, that our confidence levels will highly influence the decisions we'll make or not make. So maybe you actually have an idea of your purpose, but you don't have the courage to step into it. You are stuck in a rut. You have this safety zone, but I don't want to step out and take action towards my purpose. So I like the certainty of misery versus the misery of uncertainty. So my encouragement is that our self-worth and self-esteem levels are nurtured and developed over our lifetime. There is some research that some people are born with a propensity with a little bit lower self-worth, but even our foods, I was hypoglycemic. I was actually put on antidepressants way back in the 80s, Myrna. And what we found out, it was my lifestyle. I was drinking, like a gallon of Coke a day. And so I was basically just totally messing up my system, but it also got me in depression as a result of having hypoglycemia and mood swings. So my confidence and my self-worth and my wellness were linked together. So just be aware of that as well. And that by the way, self-worth can also be situational. So we could have very high self-worth at home but low at work. We could have low at work and high at home. So we measure that, and we help people to be aware of that, and that owning my self-worth or my space, this is not about arrogance and being better than anybody else, is of a critical importance if I'm going to realize my purpose.
Perfect. All right.
And then number 4 is we talk about environmental systems. We are a product of our environment. What did we grow up in? Where did we grow up? If I grew up in Florida versus LA versus New York, maybe Toronto, Vancouver versus Afghanistan, I'm going to have a different perspective on life. The culture, the cultural background about expectations, where the sort of the groups speak. There's all kinds of research now that who you hang out with is actually changing your brain waves, and you're starting to act like them. So, well, don't hang out with those kids. They're going to drag you into doing things you don't want to do. Guess what?
Your
it's
grandmother
now
always
by science that happens.
Yes. Show me your company. I'll tell you who you are. That's my grandmother's favorite saying. Right.
Absolutely. So that's number. So we look at that and we think about, we do work in Japan, we do work in China, Australia, UK, Mexico, U.S., Canada. So there are different perspectives culturally about where people are, and that's influencing what people do, what they won't do. We think about our next one.
That influences their purpose? I didn't understand that part.
Well,
I know that influence how they think, but how does that influence their purpose?
Give you an example. My wife works at a university. She has an international student. Culturally, these students from China are expected to do and be what their parents ask them to be. She has students in her academic coaching in tears because they hate sciences. And so this one girl that was in her office, her parents own a cosmetic manufacturing company in China. They're going to have her head of R&D. She hates R&D. She wants the art. She wants to be in that space. So that's the cultural pressure that comes to me. I was on the dairy farm. It was hard for me to leave the farm because all the expectations and pressure was it's your responsibility to take it over.
All right. Got you now. All right.
So that's okay. And then the next one is what we call social teachers. What are you letting into your space? I really don't watch the news hardly ever. I listen to podcasts every day that are encouraging, nurturing like yours, Myrna, that develop me, move me towards area. I just don't listen to, the media is now not what it used to be. Who are you letting in your space in terms of mentoring you? We talked about friendships. The other one is, as a kid, this is where you are vicarious, meaning I'm watching how my parents interacted. They're teaching you how to treat each other. It could be poor, it could be positive. So now I'm just watching. So who are you letting into your space? What songs are you listening to? There's now a linkage towards violence in video games. So, well, no, it doesn't affect me. Well, it does. It rewires the brain.
It does.
And so, again, am I aware of what I'm letting in, who I'm working with, who I'm nurturing with, those personal relationships? So that's number 5.
That's really interesting. But I was looking at the news the other day, and my husband said to me, "Oh, every morning I wake up, there's a drive-by shooting. That's all they do in Miami because we're in this area." And I says, "Well, why do you watch that? Why don't you just put on sports? That's just as bad, but this is better." I says, "Why do you watch that? If every morning somebody is, driving by shooting someone." And I was also telling my daughter the same thing. I says, I am very careful with what I put in. I am not going to watch something that affects me personally. Very, very conscious of input. And like you, I walk every morning. I do have a Fitbit and I have my 10,000 steps, and I walk every morning, and I listen to podcasts. And I'm growing so much as a human by listening to podcasts and also talking to people like you on my show. I mean, I'm learning as much as the audience is, and that's what you put in. That's input. And I'm hearing so many people now talking about the news because it's not a positive thing. I mean, I said, why do you need to know that? People says, well, I need to know what's going on in the world.
There's so much fake news now. It's really not news. Yeah. It's opinion. Yeah. And it's biased, and there's very little news that's reported that is clean. It's always been influenced by somebody's agenda. Unfortunately, that's what it's come to, and then nobody listens to anybody else. It's just noisy. So I've decided not to do it. The other thing when it comes to TV, when we think about North America, I'm not sure what the latest stat is, but it's 5 to 8 hours a day that people watch TV. Well, that, as Marshall Goldsmith, the number one executive coach in the world, says, well, that's meaningless, right? Yeah. So where I'm not really developing myself. So I'll listen to about 1 to 2 hours of podcasts a day. It'll vary. If I travel a lot, maybe a little bit less. And then I'll do 30 minutes to an hour of reading in one of my e-newsletters that I get, that I choose to subscribe to, or I'll unsubscribe. So I control my space pretty tightly.
That's good. All right, what's number 6?
Well, number 6 is an area that we don't get into as much as a company, but we call it emotional anchors or triggers. And here's what we mean by that. It's any kind of event in life that causes either a positive or negative trigger. This goes way back to what Bruce Lipton's talking about, the biology of belief. Every single person listening to this show has triggers. You have an event in life that creates an emotional response. Some of you are defensive over certain things. Other people, an event happens, it doesn't bother you, but it bothers somebody else immensely. This goes back to a trigger that has been anchored. In many cases, these things are subconscious. So that's why, being careful, mindful, reflective, purging your system of these things. Go ahead, Myrna. Sorry.
No, I'm saying that you said most of the time it's subconscious. I'm going to say 100% of the time that it's subconscious.
Well, some of us become aware of we have these patterns that keep coming out.
Right.
And one of the coaching methods I use helps people to really kind of rid themselves of this process and work on it and be able to develop new pathways. Carolyn Leaf's work talks about, where I can create a brand new habit, but it takes 63 days, not 21, to make it an unconscious, competent process. And, Carolyn's very similar to Bruce Lipton's work. So that really becomes an important piece for people to kind of work on. Sometimes counseling is involved in this area. The other one that I really want to encourage people in this, a lot of times people take traumatic events, and that becomes their anchor. In other words, that becomes what they hold on to as an award of some sort or a ribbon, and that becomes their identity. And that's unfortunate because they're now learning in counseling is that you processing the past and going over and over all this thing that happened in the past. I'm not saying it was good. I'm not saying that was even something that is allowable, But the reality is, as long as you keep your focus on that, you will never be free of it. And so counseling is now moving forward. That's even where Marshall's coaching is around. He calls feed forward. What behaviors do I want to have? And that's where forgiveness comes into place in this space, and that's one of the traits I talk about it. If I'm harboring unforgiveness to somebody, I don't care how horrific that event was in your life, that maybe somebody was involved where it was very, very horrendous. Until you forgive them, they have hold of you forever. So a lot of times people don't realize their purpose because they're angry. They have this unforgiveness. They have not really released themselves of this traumatic event. You know, I had my girlfriend, when I was 21 years old, murdered by a friend of mine. If I don't let that go, that event from 1982 would affect me forever.
For the rest of your life.
I'm not. Of course, obviously, that's a pretty horrific event.
Yeah.
It's not something that anybody would want to have, but you have to release that, right?
Yeah.
And so that's number 6. And so do the work. You know, do whatever you need to, see the professionals that you need to see. And then finally, number 7, which is hidden in the center underneath that image, Myrna, is spirituality. And here's what we mean by that. And I have a whole chapter in the book, and I have my own sort of position on it and my own faith statement. But people's belief system highly influences what they do or what they don't do. Yes. And so if you believe that there's nothing out there, then that's going to influence what you do or don't do. If you believe there's something out there, it's going to influence. Now, here's my statement to everybody. It says, well, I don't believe in anything, so I don't have spirituality. No. Human beings can't believe in nothing, because if you believe in nothing, that is something. And so as a result of being conscious beings, that is the reality for us. So if you believe in nothing, that has implications in terms of what you will think is important, your direction, and what will develop your whole life. And so all of those 7 come together to develop the whole person. And that's why developing all these areas is critical to living your life on purpose.
Okay, that's perfect. That's awesome. So thank you for sharing that. And, you know, I'm going to just comment on the last one, the spirituality, because we are spiritual beings having a human, existence. So our thoughts are so powerful in what you believe, in the environment, and, you know, like Bruce Lipton talks about the fact that, you know, what you talked about the environment, cultural, but the environment of what you believe in as far as, you know, also affects your perception, and your perception affects your reality. So it goes a little, you know, there's another section to that as well. But spirituality, one of the things that I am, you know, conscious about right now, that I'm spending a lot of time developing myself, is the fact that you create your world. You know, most of us believe that we are a product of circumstances, but you know, if you believe that you actually can design and create your world, and that's what my mind is being transferred on, and I'm hoping that I can share that. But yeah, so spirituality, the spiritual part of you is very, very important to your purpose and consciousness and this whole development thing. So awesome. That was, you know, that was very in-depth, and I think you covered the whole spectrum of, development and personality. So I'm almost sure. So do you have an assessment that covers all of them, or these are all individual assessments?
There are individual assessments. There's 5 assessments that we have for the areas that we talked about. So the personal style indicator, the stress indicator and health planner, the self-worth inventory. If you want to use the entrepreneurial assessment, which helps to measure your background, if you're into your own business, that's for section number 4. The values preference indicator, that helps you to understand your values, your core, what we call behavioral values, which fits into category number 5. And then we have a couple other assessments that help people run clarity around their learning style if they want to, or for you on sales. So we have a dozen assessments, and then we also have one for job fit. So when we think about that first one about, okay, the nature of who I am, but what's the nature of the position, and am I in sync with the position, or do I need to change some of the responsibilities so it's a better fit for me?
Okay. Yes, that's awesome. We don't have a lot of time left, but when you were talking about the personality style, I had to think about my daughter, who is a very sweet, personal, is just like a Mother Teresa, and she decided that she wanted to get into politics, and she's very passionate about it, and she wants to be like Nelson Mandela. He's her hero. But she's not. Her personal style is not for that, and she works extremely hard at changing. But now that I know, I'm going to have her listen to this, and I always try to help her. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that she has to be able to do very well in that career is to be able to speak like Barack Obama, for instance. I'm picking him, and she has a very hard time. She even went to take an improv class the other day to help her with that. But I'm seeing where you're coming from, where if she was maybe like me, personality that had always been an outgoing, extroverted person, then she would be able to find that job or her purpose a little easier. But sometimes, you've got to work for it, because the purpose doesn't always, come with the talent. I guess that's the best way of saying that. So
one comment, Myrna, for you, and I'll just coach you right at the moment. Personality or a personal style should not be used as a discriminatory, pardon me, against certain jobs or roles or passions. And so it's just going to be different for her. It doesn't mean that she can't be in politics. Maybe she's not going to be the person that's going to be speaking as much. Maybe it's a support role or an assistant for a politician. There is all these different things that come into play there. So we don't want to take away what you're passionate about. At the same time, there might be certain skills. So an example is I could be outspoken and outgoing and have a conversation, but the skill I need to learn is how to shut up and to listen to other people. So there's each of us have our own issues, right? So she could go down that path quite easily, but she's going to have different challenges and different opportunities to grow, and she's going to show up differently than somebody else that might be the opposite.
Right. So the only reason I brought it up is because I thought about that. Like when you're saying you're doing this assessment for, fitting as far as your personal style and the jobs or whatever, I just thought of her immediately. But, because she's in that job, she's doing it, but she has to work harder at it because her personal style is not a 100% match for it. Awesome. All right. Well, let's take our final break, and we're going to be right back. And Dr. Ken has a free gift for you, so don't go anywhere. We're right back. If you would like to improve the quality of your life and don't have the budget to hire a coach, then I have an offer for you. Why not play the game of life and learn the skills to maneuver life situations? How many of you have played the game of Monopoly and learned the value of having property to collect rent? Well, Points of View is a leading company in the field of training for personal and business development. Points of View use games to explore significant life themes in a fun, unique, and powerful way. Games are designed for use by professionals, organizations, or individuals. The games are designed to help you look deep inside yourselves and the environment around you. It is a stimulating exploration that sharpens your senses and opens up new possibilities. So who can use Points of View games? Anyone wishing to reconnect and enhance communications with themselves and others. Anyone in search of fresh perspectives on dilemmas, relationships, and decision-making. Those seeking interchange and the opportunity to build new bridges. Points of View is a collection of various games. The coaching game features 65 associate cards that explore significant everyday themes. Punction fosters associate connections between photos, themes, and questions. These flexible combinations make it a fascinating tool, highly effective in dynamic therapy, coaching, and counseling. Faces is a powerful way to get to know ourselves through the observation of others. For more information or to purchase one or more of these games, head over to https://POY4ALL.com/transform, which is TRANSFORM. These games would make perfect Christmas gifts for someone that you love so that they can have coaching in a fun and exciting way. So once again, that website is https://POY4ALL.com/transform.
Having trouble getting a merchant account? Need an international payment gateway? Rejected by another merchant account provider? No problem. iPayTotal wants your business. Our high-risk merchant accounts allow you to accept all major credit and debit cards. Our Motto Payment Gateway allows accepting transactions on the phone. iPayTotal delivers payment solutions and products to help grow your business. Contact us now for your payment processing at info@ipaytotal.com or visit ipaytotal.com. www.ipaytotal.com, your online payments provider.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind radio show and podcast. I'm your host, Coach Myrna Young, and today we have had a very powerful conversation with Dr. Ken Keis. Dr. Ken is the author of Quest for Purpose, along with several other publications, and we spent the time today talking about purpose in your quest for it, really. So just to quickly summarize what we talked about in our last segment, Dr. Ken gave us 7 personality development models that can help you find your purpose. We talked about personality style. We talked about your wellness or stress, how that affects how you show up. We talked about self-worth. Your confidence affects what you go after. We talked about the environmental systems, whether you're, where you're born, and what your parents expect you to become. We talked about social teachers, the news, and what we're putting into. Emotional triggers. If something bad happened to you, a lot of times, this is a big one, a lot of times people can't get over it. It hijacks them and it controls most of their thinking. So, and then, there's triggers. And then the very last one we talked about is spirituality, which, Dr. Ken says in his book is hidden somewhere. But, to me, that is all-encompassing because we're spiritual beings, and what you believe is one of the most predominant effects on your purpose. So as we're concluding our show, I just want to ask Dr. Ken to tell you where you can get some of his assessments, how you can, he's a free gift for you, so go right ahead, Ken.
Well, listen, we don't do this often, but as a guest for your show, we're actually going to provide a free version of my book, The Quest for Purpose, for every listener here. Now, to go get this gift, you go to my speaker site, which is Ken Keis, and that's spelled KenKeis.com/transform, which is going to be a hidden page for Myrna's show, and we'll be able to just give us your information, and then we'll be able to give you a free copy, entire version, nothing held back, of the Quest for Purpose, which normally sells for $30. And then if you want to learn more about our assessments and tools, which are available for you to participate that we talked about today, then you can just engage on that site, contact me, and we can help you learn more about those assessments. You can go online, purchase them, take them, and actually have your results in a few minutes immediately. As soon as you respond, it's sent to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed our conversation, and that's a really good offer, guys, because like I said, Ken sent me a hard copy of his book, and I'm reading it right now, and it's very good. And of course, Ken has been a coach for 30 years, so he has a lot of skills and knowledge, and if you can be working towards your purpose, I will tell you that, to me, that's the secret to happiness. So thank you, Dr. Ken. I really enjoyed our conversation. I want to thank you, our audience, for tuning in to the Transform Your Mind radio program. Today, we try to transform your mind and the importance of having a purpose or working towards a purpose. There's a lot of noise out there about purpose. I've been reading books about purpose for a long time, but today we dived into a little different look at it. People would tell you, again, your purpose is what you have in your hand, like from the Moses story, or what you're born to do. But here is looking at it from an assessment point of view, looking deeper into 7 areas. I want to remind you that if you feel that this content helps you grow, then remember to share with your friends and family, and please subscribe and post a review. Your review helps us attract more listeners that can also benefit, and that would be your little gift to the world. Dr. Ken, anything else you want to say before we wrap up?
I just want to encourage everybody listening, again, a reminder, everybody's important, everybody matters, everybody has a purpose, and your best self, your most fulfilled self, the highest level of meaning and contribution comes from you owning it, getting clear about it, and doing the work to get there, and it's all worth it.
Awesome. Couldn't have said it better myself. So thanks again, and see you next time. Namaste.